Tackling pockets of insecurity across the country has been quite challenging for the security forces. What was expected to be a walk in the park for our gallant security forces has now become a major challenge, not just for the security agencies, but for all of us as citizens. Perhaps a review of strategy is required, and the breach on the Kuje Custodial Center made this review imperative. The National Security Council is considering a nationwide ban on commercial motorcycle operations, as the two-wheel machine is said to provide a means of transportation for bandits and terrorists in several attacks carried out in some parts of the country in recent times. The atrocities connected with the use of motorcycles are becoming intolerable, and now one man's meat is becoming another man's poison. We will bring you all perspectives to the issue on today's episode of 30 Minutes. Welcome to the program. I am Mitaire Ikpen. Curtailing the excesses of commercial motorcycle operators has been a hard nut to crack for many state governments that have tried to either ban or restrict their operations to certain routes in the suburbs. This is because patronage of what is popularly called Okada as a means of transportation and source of livelihood has increased significantly. In our first report, correspondent Joseph Otsen explains the evolution of commercial motorcycle operations in Nigeria and the points of deviation.
The use of commercial motorcycles for intra-city transportation has evolved as a reliable means of transportation. Though research shows motorcycles existed in Nigeria before the 1970s, they were not necessarily used for commercial purposes, but mainly private activities such as conveying farm equipment and produce, hawking of goods like bread, medicine, and newspapers. Available studies indicate that use of motorcycles for commercial transportation began in Calabar and Yola Adamawa State in the 1970s and then spread to other cities following inadequate mass transit system such as buses, wood lorries popularly called molwe, and even taxis due to upsurge in population in most cities. By the 1980s, the use of motorcycles for public transportation had gradually spread to almost every part of Nigeria. As a component unit of Nigeria's transport system, many citizens rely on commercial motorcycles to reach their destinations, especially in remote areas where cars find it difficult to access.
Okada, like everybody knows here in Nigeria, it used to be a very safe means of transportation, especially for the unmotorable routes.
Honestly, to be sincere, these motorcyclists, the best thing is to give them boundaries, the jurisdiction where they will stay and where they will stop and where they will go and where not to go. If not so, there is no work in this country. And the people are multiplying every day.
Sadly, the execution of several criminal acts using motorcycles and many other public disturbances attributed to the riders are painting a bad image for the business. For instance, motorcycles are said to be the major vehicle bandits and terrorists are using to unleash mayhem on citizens and communities.
The bandits arrived, they patrol based on two motorcycles. One of the motorcycles is carrying 3 persons and the other is carrying 2 persons, making the number of the bandits that appeared before our staff to 5. Immediately on the arrival, they opened fire on the immigration staff on patrol, which at the end resulted in the death of one of the immigration staff. And the other 2 of the staff and the team sustained serious bullet wounds.
Some criminals use them to attack members of the public, to snatch phones, money, and other personal belongings.
In recent times, it has become a thing of concern because some of them do not use the bike to earn a living. So what they do is exploit They use it for robbery and all whatnot. So I have a friend who came back a bit late and had to use Okada, which is, of course, the only means she could use at that point home. And then she came back with luggages, 2 knapsacks, and she kept them in front. Unfortunately, her phones were beside or inside the knapsack, which she placed in front. Unfortunately, when she came down, she couldn't find her phones. And then as they ply the route, they make the road too busy for other vehicles, for cars, and trucks on the road. And it's risky. And they don't drive safely. You see most of them, they speed off. You have to tap and tap before they try to reduce the speed. So it's a thing of concern for everyone who uses Okada.
But the problem here is the ones coming from far, they're dead, they don't know, are the ones spoiling things. At the end of the day, some of them are stealing. Some of them are even attacking their Okada men, they are safe. They will stab them, collect their bike. Some of them, they always that's why I see every time they are rough and they are always eager to fight. 15 naira can make them stab somebody. They don't even care about their life anymore.
Of late, some state governments have resorted to either banning or restricting the operations of commercial motorcycles, especially in some major cities across the country. In 2019, the Nigerian Army banned the use of motorcycles in 7 states of the country: Kano, Katsina, Zamfara, Sokoto, Kaduna, Kebbi in the northwest, and Niger State in north-central Nigeria, citing the use of motorcycles by armed bandits, kidnappers, criminal elements, and their collaborators as enablers. Lagos State government presently suspended the use of commercial motorcycles in 6 local governments with effect from June 1st, 2022 to address the chaos and menace created by their operations. In the Federal Capital Territory, commercial motorcycles are restricted to the suburbs and forbidden from operating in Abuja's city center, but as development and the population continue to expand, more riders are now flooding the city center. Authorities believe ban on commercial motorcycles operations in other parts of the country is one of the pull factors, just as insecurity, especially terrorist activities in the northern part of the country, are forcing many to take refuge in Abuja.
After last week, the one arrested within just 1 week, you will still be shocked at how many they are, and yet they are still coming. Some have said it is because of the ban by other states, full ban, that is making them find a safe haven in Abuja. Yes, in Abuja, we had a restricted ban, where they were banned from the city center. And as at that time, the city center, where the ban was then, stopped at AYA, City Gate, and maybe Katampe by Aso Radio. That's where the ban was, because communities have not been developed to that point. Then there was no what do you call it now? There was not so much between Abacha Barracks and Kubo was just a small place, and then Yanya and Karo Bridge. Then there was not so much within the airport road stretch. But now the city appeared to have developed to a point that the city center can no longer be properly defined as it was before. Everywhere is fully developed and completely joined together. So we are finding that as part of the challenges of the operation. And the fact that we had population explosion. That's why some of us are calling for another expanded ban.
While the FCT may be seen as safe haven for many of these youths, the large influx is becoming worrisome not just to the authorities, but also citizens, as major areas, including restricted ones, are witnessing chaos and increasing criminal challenges. A task force set up by the Federal Capital Territory Authority to enforce restriction of Okada operations in major districts is equally having rough times, as many of the operators are becoming violent.
Most of our personnel, you see them with, most time they are stabbed, most time they come under heavy attacks. Sometimes somebody even pour one, when we went to go and clean up the airport, somebody pour full 10 liters of petrol on a personnel, but luckily he couldn't find lighter or matches. I think we've gone so deep, but I think it's an issue of they have been prohibited from this area. You go there, you impound it. They want to fight back, you take it. Most times it gets messy, but it's our job. It's what we signed for. That's the truth. Most of them are with dagger, with some other weapon, some with axe. So except you want to leave them to go lawless, which I don't think the FCTA will permit.
Perhaps many of the Okada operators are new to Abuja and have no idea of restricted areas and consequences of operating in such places. Spokesperson of Directorate of Road Traffic Services, Kalu Emetu, says the service is collaborating with relevant unions and has carried out a series of sensitization but found out that many riders are not even registered members of the available unions and operate out of control.
Sometimes when we see such motorbikes, you see them going back to organize on what to do. Like what happened last week. Our operatives were at airport roads. They picked 13 commercial motorbikes. They went back and planned to come back and to fight back. Before they got there, our men were out of that place in another area for the same operation. What they resorted to was to put tires on fire. That was what caused the traffic gridlock on Airport Road that day.
Kalu Emetu went on to speak on the consequences, which include payment of fines, outright confiscation, and subsequent destruction of the motorcycles to serve as deterrent to others.
For any Okada to move into the city center, we impound it and the person don't expect to get it back. That was the reason why I told you that we crushed 1,700 3 weeks ago. In November, we crushed 1,500. As we speak, we have over 500 on ground waiting for forfeiture, order of forfeiture. Because the process is when we impound a certain number of motorcycles, we go to court to obtain order of forfeiture. We don't just destroy them. It's when we get such order of forfeiture that it is considered to belong to government. Then government can do anything it wants to do with it. So what we have been doing in FCT is to crush such vehicles. When we crush them, the remains will still be recycled.
Despite the clampdown on operations of the commercial motorcyclists in restricted areas, the youth operating the business remain undeterred as the FCT continue to see more trickling in. For many, more sensitization is needed to keep the youth abreast with security threats posed by operations of commercial motorcycles in restricted areas. Aside this, more aggressive approach may be required to keep the nation's capital safe and organized according to plan.
Whether for government or the governed, banning commercial motorcycle operations will be sacrificial and a lot of advocacy and sensitization will be required. But how was the federal government dragged into contemplating a ban on commercial motorcycle operations nationwide? Correspondent Thomas Ogbetere has a comprehensive report.
In July, President Muhammadu Buhari summoned 2 emergency meetings of the National Security Council within a week over the spate of insecurity and other forms of criminality across Nigeria. After critical assessment of the Kuje jailbreak and other security breaches nationwide, it was easy to establish that the terrorists and other criminal elements relied on motorcycles for ease of movement during their evil operations. This led the National Security Council to come up with a proposal to ban commercial motorcycle operations nationwide, as well as temporary suspension of mining activities from which it is believed that terrorists were funding their operations.
Any issue that at the end of the day will translate to threat on the national security, corporate existence of a country requires for certain sacrifices. So regardless of the means that is being considered for perhaps a possible banning, provided what matters is a sacrifice that will see us through addressing the security challenges, I think no sacrifice is too big as far as that issue is concerned. And above all, if you are talking of perhaps banning the motorcycles, for example, I believe the component, or perhaps the number of people that could be using the motorcycle in Nigerian state may not be up to 20% of the Nigerian population. So if the 20% of the Nigerian population is called upon to now make certain sacrifices for the purpose of addressing a challenge, a security challenge that is all-pervading, affecting over 200 million Nigerians, that sacrifice, to my mind, is indeed a sacrifice worthy of being considered.
It shows the concern and the commitment of the federal government to the security of the Nigerian people. That I must emphasize.
Expectedly, the proposal has generated mixed reactions from Nigerians. While some citizens feel the proposed ban on commercial motorcycle operations may bring some respite security-wise, others argue that it may create more socio-economic challenges for millions of Nigerians who directly or indirectly benefit from the services of commercial motorcycle operators.
The banning of Okada riders or the motorcyclists is going to stop terrorism, then why not? There is no reason to allow them if the terrorists continue to use them. It's just a step that government think, yeah, that's a step to take, and I support them. I support the decision they've made.
I don't support the ban at all, because now the government is banning bikes because they think terrorists are using them to do their work. So what if they decide to use cars or buses or any other kind of vehicle? Are they now going to say that we should not drive cars again?
Some believe commercial motorcycle operators can be co-opted for intelligence gathering.
Most of the Okada people, you know, they are low-income people, they are like grassroots people, they are in the villages, so they know areas. Most of the areas that vehicle cannot get into, Okada will get in there. So they can gather information, and you know, they sit down with some of these people, they drink, they eat, and sometimes when they're carrying you, you know, on the Okada, you make calls. They know where they drop you. You know, they will help. But the only thing is that when you gather this information, who are you going to give the information? Because if, as we are told, that even DSS will get information and submit, you know, the whatever information they got, and nobody will act on it. So if an Okada man brings an information, would you say that the Okada man has taken him grooming?
Okada is not a criminal asset. It is that it's being used by criminals, isn't it also? So what to do is to deny criminals ability to use Okada. So, and I think that the simple thing to do is Okada is ridden by human beings that ride Okada. They go from place to place. It is the responsibility of the state, simple, to use intelligence asset, infiltrate Okada riders, infiltrate Okada, the society, the Okada Riders Association, everywhere you find Okada riders, put security agents, informants. The Secret Service, DSS knows what I'm talking about. They can recruit and use other Okada riders to infiltrate the system. Pay them. If terrorist is paying 10 naira, you pay 20 naira. If terrorists have given incentive to Okada riders in order to be able to use them as informant, you also look for Okada riders and give them incentive and let them become counter-informants. Let them become counter-intelligence gathering agents for you. So they will report on their colleagues. They will report on those who are using Okada for crime, for terrorism, for banditry as a format. It's very easy. So when you do this, the criminal Okada, the people that are using Okada, criminal elements that are using Okada for their purpose, can be identified, isolated, and dealt with.
The national umbrella body of the commercial motorcycle and tricycle operators says it cannot totally rule out the possibility of infiltration of its ranks by some unscrupulous elements.
There are always bad eggs. There are always elements in every gathering, you know, that are always in the irregular side, the unlawful side. So it's the same problem we are facing. Not that we do not know that they are there. We know that they are there, but we are taking also mechanism to be able to fish them out. And the fact that they are there does not mean we should eliminate the whole project completely, or the livelihood of our 14 million people completely. So we cannot eliminate them, but we need to fish them out.
We have issues of one chance, people entering taxi one chance, kidnapping. We've never banned the operation of taxis. But it's not every taxi that carry one chance. It's the same thing with Okada. We have issues of corruption in the government. We've not banned government because it's not everybody that is corrupt. That is what it is. We have issues of kidnapping, adoption of many school girls, boys, all over the country. There are tools they use. They use vehicles to convey them. We've not banned the operation of vehicles because they use it for Dapchi girls or Chibok girls. So you cannot just eliminate the components of irregular actors in every gathering. So they are always there. But we are doing our very best at this point to see how we can filter the bad eggs from the good ones.
The group, however, appeals to government to reconsider the plan to ban their operations as the means of livelihood of over 14 million Nigerians will be affected.
We are moving. We, the association, we are trying in our own capacity to see what we can do as our responsibility. All we are appealing to government is that they should do their own part of responsibility so that we will have an equilibrium to meet, which is a safe society, which is a peaceful Nigeria. So that is what we all agitate. We are all looking for it. We are doing our own. Like I have said, there are so many programs we are running. For example, you made me very busy with my system, right? I'm developing a proposal, to partner with road safety, to partner with VIO, to give us, our members, training, on the rules and regulation guiding the operation on the road. So we are going to be carrying out this exercise in so many ways. We are also writing to NDLA and other similar agencies that deal with drugs issues to give us expertise, in how to sensitize the people against drugs.
The association reads out various measures being put in place towards regulating the operations of their members to fish out bad eggs.
We are printing the ID card, together with a sticker that has the same QR code. So at the back of the cake or the side, it will be pasted there, or the Okada. And then with that sticker too, we are printing a reflective jacket with the same QR code and the unique ID with our phone numbers. Because also, in order to check these SSS, we are establishing a call center for our members. Because we want to use, this particular mechanism in achieving other things. For example, the call center purpose is serving for, one, a complaint about the rider outside there. If he's reckless, we'll have to withdraw his ID card. And the moment you don't have ID card, you cannot operate. So we want to close the identity of who is reporting a crime in a particular place by them calling to our central point, the call center. And from here, we'll report to the security agency.
In the meantime, commercial motorcycle operators are advised to say something whenever they notice any form of security breach among their ranks and never to engage in any mob action.
Because we are law-abiding citizens and we came out to operate and to look for our deliberate, not to come and fight. So by grace of God, very soon, Nigeria will see the changes.
Security experts also prefer different solutions and approaches to end terrorism.
Will and can indeed overcome the security crisis that we have if everybody will be honest, sincere, and committed to find the solution to the problem. Nigeria will come out of this.
While the federal government's proposed ban on commercial motorcycle operations looms, the consensus is that everyone has a role in the fight against insecurity in Nigeria.
Different strokes for different folks, I must say. But like Thomas observed in his report, everyone has a role to play in the fight against insecurity in Nigeria. What sacrifice are you willing to make for national interest? That's where we leave it today on the program. Thanks for your time. I am Mitaire Ikpen. Bye for now.